The morning sunlight streamed through the curtains as Dora Wilson carefully folded her favorite cream blouse and placed it in her overnight bag. She added a light pink cardigan, nothing fancy, just comfortable, exactly how she liked it. "Are you sure you don't want to wait until tomorrow?" "We could drive up together," called Marcus from the bathroom, his voice echoing slightly against the tiles. Dora smiled as she zipped her bag closed. "And miss my spa day with Rachel?" "No chance. Besides, I want to check out the new acquisition before you arrive." Marcus appeared in the doorway with a towel around his waist, silver streaks in his dark hair catching the light. At 45, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had built something substantial from nothing. "Just remember, nobody knows you there. I haven't even met the staff myself yet." "That's the point," Dora replied, walking over to Plant, a kiss on his cheek. "Your corporate inspection team arrives tomorrow, but today I'll see how they treat a regular customer. The real experience." Marcus shook his head, but his eyes crinkled with admiration. "Mystery shopping my own dealership." "Huh? Smart as always. 15 years in customer service before I met you taught me everything about how businesses really work," she reminded him, "and being underestimated is my superpower." The Wilson Auto Group had grown steadily over 20 years, but Marcus's latest acquisition, the prestigious Lakeview Luxury Auto in downtown Chicago, was his most ambitious yet. The previous owner had built an impressive reputation for high-end vehicles, but customer complaints had skyrocketed in recent years. "Just observe. Don't intervene," Marcus cautioned. "I know how passionate you get when you see poor service," Dora laughed. "I promise to behave, mostly." 3 hours later, Dora pulled into a parking space several blocks from the dealership. She smoothed down her simple white blouse and adjusted her cardigan, checking her reflection in her compact mirror. At 42, her face showed character, lines around her eyes that Marcus called her happiness markers. She walked the 3 blocks to Lakeview Luxury Auto, purposely leaving her designer handbag in the car. Today she was just Dora, not Dora Wilson of Wilson Auto Group. The facade of Lakeview gleamed with polished glass and chrome. Luxury vehicles were displayed like crown jewels under perfect lighting. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the revolving doors. The showroom bustled with activity, salespeople in crisp suits circling the floor like sharks. The scent of leather and ambition hung thick in the air. 3 men in nearly identical navy suits stood near the reception desk, laughing over something on a smartphone. Dora approached a sleek black sedan, running her fingers lightly over its hood. Within seconds, she felt someone watching her. She turned to find a salesman, tall, impeccably dressed with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, approaching. "Good morning," he said, his gaze quickly taking in her simple outfit and lack of visible status symbols. "Just browsing today?" "Actually," Dora replied warmly, extending her hand. "I'm interested in this model. I'm Dora." The salesman, Vincent, according to his name tag, gave her hand a perfunctory shake. "Vincent Reed, this is our Solara GT. Quite an exclusive vehicle." His tone suggested she might be better suited elsewhere. Dora recognized the evaluation happening behind his eyes, the quick calculation of her worth based solely on appearance. "It's beautiful," she said, deliberately ignoring his implied dismissal. "I'd like to know more about its features and possibly arrange a test drive." Vincent's smile tightened. "Of course, though, I should mention the Solara starts at $115,000. Perhaps I could show you something more practical." "This model is exactly what I'm looking for," Dora replied firmly. She'd faced this subtle condescension many times before, the assumption that a woman in simple clothes couldn't possibly afford luxury. "Very well," Vincent said with thinly veiled skepticism. "The Solara GT features a turbocharged V8 engine, premium leather interior, and advanced driver assistance technology." His description was cursory, lacking the enthusiasm he would undoubtedly show a customer in an expensive suit. Dora noticed 2 other salesmen watching from across the showroom, exchanging glances. Impressive, she nodded. I'd like to experience how it handles. Could we arrange that test drive now? Vincent's expression shifted, the practiced smile faltering. I'm afraid our test drives require pre-approval from our finance department. Perhaps if you'd like to discuss financing options first. Dora understood exactly what was happening. She was being handled, guided away from what she'd actually requested. The real test of the dealership's character was about to begin. I don't need financing, Dora said, her voice level despite the familiar frustration building inside her. I'd prefer to pay in full. Vincent's eyebrows rose slightly. I see. Well, our policy still requires verification of funds before test driving vehicles in this price range. For security purposes, you understand. Dora nodded. Of course. Would you like to see my bank statement? That would be helpful, Vincent replied, his tone suggesting he didn't expect much. Dora reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. I can show you my banking app. She opened the application, but before she could show him, Vincent cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this with my manager. These high-value vehicles require special handling. He motioned toward a glass-enclosed office, where a man in a charcoal suit sat behind a large desk. As they walked, Dora noticed how Vincent positioned himself slightly ahead, not quite alongside her, small signals of hierarchy that didn't go unnoticed. The office door opened before they reached it. Vincent, is there a problem? The manager, Preston Baker, according to the nameplate on his desk, looked past Vincent directly at Dora, his assessment even quicker than Vincent's had been. Ms. Vincent paused, realizing he hadn't asked. For her surname. Just Dora is fine, she supplied, extending her hand to Preston. Ms. Dora is interested in the Solara GT, Vincent explained, emphasizing her lack of surname as if it confirmed his suspicions. I explained our protocols regarding test drives. Preston's handshake was brief, his smile practiced. Of course, please have a seat. He gestured to a chair in front of his desk while taking his own seat. Vincent remained standing. I understand you're interested in our premium line, Preston began, folding his hands on the desk. The Solara is one of our most exclusive models. Yes, it seems perfect for what I need, Dora replied. And what exactly is that? Preston asked, his tone suggesting genuine curiosity but his eyes calculating. I travel frequently between Chicago and Milwaukee. I need something reliable, comfortable, with excellent safety features. And yes, I appreciate luxury. Preston nodded, slowly. Understandable, though there are many vehicles that offer reliability and comfort at various price points. Vincent here could show you several options that might better align with your situation. Dora felt her patience wearing thin, but maintained her composure. I'm specifically interested in the Solara GT. I've done my research. Research is wonderful, Preston said with a condescending smile that made Dora's skin crawl. But experience in this industry allows us to guide customers to appropriate choices. The subtext was clear. He didn't believe she belonged in a luxury vehicle. I'd like to test drive the Solara, Dora stated firmly. Today. Preston exchanged a glance with Vincent before leaning forward slightly. Perhaps we should be direct. Test driving our premium vehicles requires certain financial prerequisites. We can't simply allow anyone to take a $115,000 vehicle out for a spin. Anyone, Dora repeated, her eyebrow raising slightly. Preston backpedaled slightly. I simply mean we have protocols, without verified financing approval or proof of ability. To purchase, I can pay cash, Dora interrupted. I'd be happy to show you my account balance. Preston's smile remained fixed. Even with available funds, we have a responsibility to ensure our vehicles are matched with appropriate buyers. The Solara has specific maintenance requirements, insurance considerations, which I fully understand, Dora countered. By now, other salespeople had noticed the extended conversation in the manager's office. Some pretended to work while stealing glances. Others didn't bother hiding their interest. I'll be straightforward, Preston said, dropping his smile. The Solara might not be the best fit for your lifestyle. Perhaps a test drive of our more accessible models would make sense first. Vincent can show you our certified pre-owned selection." The insinuation hung in the air. Dora took a deep breath, determined to see this charade through to its conclusion. "I'd like to speak with someone else," she said calmly. Preston's expression hardened. "I'm the sales manager. I assure you everyone on my team will tell you the same thing. We have policies." "No money, no test drive," Vincent added, his voice carrying enough that several heads turned in the showroom. "It's for everyone's protection." The humiliation was precisely orchestrated, public enough to discourage her but subtle enough that they maintained plausible deniability. It was a tactic Dora had seen countless times in her former career in customer service. "I see," she said, rising from her seat. "Thank you for your time." As Dora stepped out of Preston's office, she felt the eyes of everyone in the dealership on her. The whispers had already begun, salespeople leaning toward each other, sharing amused glances. She stood tall despite the burning sensation of embarrassment creeping up her neck. Preston followed her out, speaking loudly enough for others to hear. "Please understand, we're simply following procedure. We'd be happy to assist you with more suitable options." The calculated humiliation was even clearer now. This wasn't just poor customer service. It was deliberate exclusion wrapped in a veneer of protocol. Each word carefully chosen to emphasize that she didn't belong. "I understand perfectly," Dora replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "But I'm still interested in the Solara. Perhaps there's someone else who might help." "Me?" A young salesman nearby caught her eye, seeming less hardened than the others. But before she could approach him, Vincent stepped into her path. "I'm afraid Mr. Baker has the final say on premium test drives," he said, his voice dripping with false regret. "But I'd be happy to show you our selection of mid-range vehicles, something more appropriate." The last word lingered in the air like an insult. Dora stood her ground. "What exactly makes the Solara inappropriate for me, Mr. Reed? I'm curious." Vincent glanced toward Preston, who gave an almost imperceptible nod of approval. The showroom had grown quieter, other customers sensing the tension. "The Solara represents a significant investment," Vincent explained as if speaking to a child. "Our experience shows that customers who arrive unaccompanied and without appointment typically aren't prepared for vehicles in this class." "Unaccompanied?" Dora repeated. "Would your approach be different if I had a man with me?" The question hung in the air. Vincent's practiced smile faltered momentarily. "That's not what I—" "But it is, isn't it?" Dora interrupted, her voice calm, but firm. "I wonder how many men in casual clothes you've turned away from test drives." Preston stepped forward, his face tightening. "Now, there's no need to make accusations. Our policies apply to everyone." "Do they?" Dora challenged, noticing a middle-aged man in jeans and a polo shirt being escorted to a silver sports car by another salesman. "Your colleague seems to be arranging a test drive for that gentleman over there." Preston barely glanced in the direction she indicated. "I assure you he's a pre-qualified client." "How convenient," Dora remarked. She took a deep breath, reminding herself why she was here, to experience exactly this kind of treatment firsthand. Marcus needed to know how his newest acquisition operated when he wasn't watching. "Perhaps I should speak with the owner," she suggested, knowing the irony of her request. This elicited a chorus of poorly concealed chuckles from nearby salespeople. Preston's smile returned, more condescending than ever. "The owner," he repeated with amusement. "Miss Dora, Mr. Harrington sold this dealership last week. The new ownership group is based out of state. I doubt they're concerned with individual test drive requests." Little did he know, Dora thought. She checked her watch. Marcus would be arriving within the hour for a surprise visit ahead of tomorrow's official inspection. She simply needed to maintain her composure until then. "I'll wait," she said, moving toward a leather sofa in the customer lounge area. "As you wish," Preston replied with a dismissive shrug, though I don't expect our policy to change in the meantime. As Dora sat down, she noticed the subtle signals passing between the sales staff, the rolling eyes, the knowing smirks. She was now the showroom's entertainment for the day, the woman who didn't know her place. Dora sat in the customer lounge, observing the dealership's operations while pretending to scroll through her phone. 40 minutes had passed since Preston's dismissal, and the sales team had largely forgotten about her, occasionally throwing glances her way, but mostly returning to their routines. She noticed how differently male customers were treated compared to the few women who entered. The pattern was consistent and troubling. Marcus needed to see this personally. The main doors swung open, and Dora felt her heart lift. Marcus Wilson walked in, cutting an impressive figure in his tailored charcoal suit. At 6'1", with salt and pepper hair and confident bearing, he commanded attention without seeking it, the natural presence of someone comfortable in their own skin. He paused just inside the entrance, surveying the showroom with a critical eye. No one approached him immediately, allowing Dora to witness the stark difference in treatment. Within seconds, Vincent hurried over, clearly recognizing a high-value prospect. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Lakeview Luxury Auto. I'm Vincent." "Reed, how may I assist you today?" Marcus smiled politely but didn't immediately respond, his eyes continuing to scan the dealership. When he spotted Dora, a brief flicker of recognition crossed his face, before his expression returned to neutral. Years of business negotiations had perfected his poker face. "I'm interested in your premium line," Marcus said, turning his attention back to Vincent. "Particularly the Solara GT." Vincent practically beamed. "An excellent choice, sir. The Solara is one of our most prestigious vehicles. Would you like to see our available models?" "Actually," Marcus replied, "I understand you have a black model on the floor. I'd like to take a closer look." "Of course. Right this way." Vincent led Marcus toward the very vehicle Dora had been denied access to. His entire demeanor transformed into eager attentiveness. "This particular model features our exclusive leather package and premium sound system." Preston emerged from his office, sensing a major sale in progress. He approached with his hand extended. "Preston Baker, sales manager. It's a pleasure to meet you, Marcus Wilson," Marcus supplied, shaking his hand firmly. If the name registered with Preston, he showed no sign of recognition. The Wilson Auto Group had kept the acquisition quiet, with only the highest levels of management informed until the official announcement planned for next week. "Mr. Wilson, welcome to Lakeview. I see Vincent is showing you our Solara GT, a remarkable vehicle." "Yes, it caught my eye immediately," Marcus replied. "I'd like to arrange a test drive." "Absolutely." Preston's enthusiasm was palpable. "We can have that arranged right away. Would you like to see the vehicle specifications while we prepare the paperwork?" Marcus glanced toward Dora, who continued watching from the lounge area. "Actually, I'd like to invite my wife to join us. She's been waiting to see this model as well." Preston's smile faltered slightly. "Your wife?" Marcus turned and called across the showroom. "Dora, would you join us, please?" Every head in the dealership turned as Dora rose from her seat and walked toward them, her simple white blouse and pink cardigan now the center of attention. The confusion on Preston's face slowly transformed into dawning horror as the connection became clear. Vincent stood, frozen, his mouth slightly open as Dora approached. "Hello, darling," she said, giving Marcus a quick kiss on the cheek before turning to Preston with a pleasant smile. "Mr. Baker and I were just discussing this exact model earlier. He was explaining why I couldn't test drive it." Marcus's eyebrow raised questioningly. "Is that so? I'd love to hear about that policy." The color drained from Preston's face as realization crashed over him. His eyes darted between Dora and Marcus, desperately trying to process what was happening. Mrs. Wilson," he stammered, the name suddenly taking on new significance. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding." Vincent stood paralyzed. His practiced smile vanished completely. Around them, the showroom had gone eerily quiet. Every employee suddenly found reason to be within earshot. "No misunderstanding," Dora replied calmly. "You were quite clear. The Solara GT isn't appropriate for someone like me. I believe the exact phrase was, 'No money, no test drive.'" Marcus's expression remained measured, but his eyes had hardened. "Interesting policy, especially considering my wife's name is on half the ownership documents of this dealership." Preston swallowed visibly. "Mr. Wilson, if I had known—" "That's precisely the problem," Marcus interrupted, his voice low but carrying in the silent showroom. "You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with respect." Dora placed a gentle hand on Marcus's arm, her signal that she wanted to handle this herself. He nodded, almost imperceptibly. "Mr. Baker," she said, "I came here today to experience your dealership as an ordinary customer, to see how you treat people when you think no one important is watching." She looked around at the gathered employees, many of whom were now studying the floor intently. "I spent 15 years in customer service before meeting Marcus. I worked my way up from cashier to regional manager. I know the difference between following protocol and deliberate humiliation." Preston's attempt at recovery was painful to watch. "Mrs. Wilson, I assure you, if there was any impression of disrespect—" "There was more than an impression," Dora cut in firmly. "There was a systematic effort to make me feel unwelcome based solely on how I look and what I wear." Marcus stepped forward. "I acquired this dealership because of its reputation for excellence, but clearly that reputation is built on exclusivity rather than service." He turned to address the entire sales floor. "For those who don't know, I'm Marcus Wilson of Wilson Auto Group. As of last week, we own this dealership. Tomorrow, a transition team will arrive to begin assessment." The implications hung in the air like a guillotine blade. "Today was supposed to be a quiet visit," Marcus continued. "A chance to observe normal operations before making staffing decisions." Vincent finally found his voice. "Mr. Wilson, please understand—" "I understand perfectly," Marcus replied. "I saw exactly how you treat customers who don't match your preconceptions of wealth." The following week transformed Lakeview Luxury Auto. Preston and Vincent were no longer employed there. Their positions were quickly filled by team members who embraced the Wilson philosophy of respect first. Dora took an active role in the transition, implementing training programs focused on equitable customer treatment. The showroom's atmosphere changed dramatically as the staff learned that prejudgment had no place in true luxury service. 1 month later, Dora returned wearing the same simple outfit. Eli, a newly promoted sales consultant, greeted her warmly. "Good morning, Mrs. Wilson. Here to see Marcus." "Actually," she smiled, "I'm here as a customer today. I'd like to test drive the Solara GT." "Absolutely. The keys are ready whenever you are," Eli replied without hesitation. As Dora settled into the driver's seat, she caught Marcus watching proudly from his office. Some lessons about respect and appearance were worth teaching, even when they came with uncomfortable revelations.